2021 Kia Soul for HVAC instructors looking for parts for their students. Here's a good example I was talking about in the earlier release video. So in this situation, I guess it got hit right here. There's a little mark right there, a little mark right there, and it bent the tube back. Now, I see a kink right here, but I think this is where they had it in the box and they had it bent. It has the expansion valve on it. So when the body shop bought this part after the front end accident, it appears that it came as an assembly with the new expansion valve and the hoses, which I didn't think they would do that because I thought that expansion valve looked really dust free. Everything has dust on it, and that expansion valve, that cap, was too clean. And I couldn't figure out why are they changing the expansion valve, but I guess they gave them a new expansion valve. So for your class, not only do you get the hose with an internal heat exchanger and a pressure sensor, and you have rubber sections that you can crimp with a pair of vice grips, hose clamps, to make false restrictions to teach the students how does a collapsed tube react with the high side and low side pressure, and it depends on how much it's collapsed. So let's think of this. We have a transducer in the liquid line that comes off of the condenser, and the transducer through your, like say you have your Autel. So here I have my Autel. I could be reading the pressure of the transducer, but let's say we had a collapsed inner lining in the high side. So here's the high side. This is the high side discharge. You see the liquid one right there? You see the discharge right here? You see that rubber hose that's going to the compressor? Well, if the inner lining of that compressor was collapsed a little bit, I would have an unusually low pressure right here. It may not be collapsed all the way. I still have some high and you still have some cooling, but it would be unusually low right here, causing a cooling complaint. And then of course your transducer is on the other side of the condenser, so it'd be lower there. Now what you do is you take your temperature sensors, your clamp on temperature. I don't have one with me right now, but I would put a clamp on temperature sensor here, and I would put a clamp on temperature sensor down here coming out of the compressor. And let's say I had a 199 degrees Fahrenheit temperature at the discharge of the compressor. But then I come over here and I have 120 degrees. So you go, well, 120, and I read up here at the pressure, and it says, I don't know, I'm gonna make up a number. It says 118 PSI or 130 PSI. So say it says 130 PSI, 118, depending on the PT chart and the compressor and everything like that, it might be close, and you go, well, that's good, there's no problem there. But if you have the temperature and you're 179 degrees going into that hose, and you're 120 degrees coming out of the hose, that means you have a partial restriction from the collapse of the inner lining of the hose. And you can do that at every section of this hose. You can literally add a crimp right here. Now, if I added a crimp right here, this is feeding to the expansion valve. You have a pressure transducer right here. So if I had a crimp right here, that means the pressure on this side going all the way back to the condenser would be unusually high, and it would read up here really high. So that means you put your temperature sensor here, you had an inner collapse at a section of hose right here. You might have, let's say right now, outside temperature is 70 degrees. So your liquid line right here might be 78 degrees or something like that. But on the other side of here, it's 44 degrees. You go, wait a minute, how can I jump from, say, 88 degrees to 44 degrees with this? Well, if you had an inner line collapse inside a piece of rubber tube on the liquid line, you would see something. Now, if it was 100% collapse, you might see ambient air temperature or under hood temperature here. And 100% is difficult because you could have the same temperature here because there is no refrigerant flow. And I've shown a video of that. I had an inner line suction line by a compressor collapsed, and there was no temperature drop across the hose because it was 100% collapse. And there is so much radiant heat given off by the exhaust manifold right here, and then the blowing across the radiator had 160 or 70 degree air blowing across both the metal. Since there was no refrigerant flow, both sides of the metal were at equal temperature, but it was collapsed into hose. And somebody would say, oh, you measured a temperature drop. There's not always a temperature drop under that condition. So this is all stuff you can do in your class. You can make restrictions, and you can purchase the taps for your fittings here. You can purchase these fittings for a few dollars a piece, and you can do things like, here's the factory one. Well, see this rubber hose? You can drill a hole right here, and you can put another tap here for a pressure sensor so you can have your gauges hooked up. Then you can come over here and you could put another one right here before the expansion valve. So you have a low side fitting, that factory low side fitting, and another low side fitting. And on the table, up on the wall, as an instructor, you could put clamps across the hoses and see the temperature drops and the pressure drops. Here's another one. You have your autel. You're reading your pressure transducer. And in this one, the pressure transducer is located in the liquid line. That means after the compressor. But you have your gauges are located on the high side at the compressor discharge. That means you now have two devices to take two pressure points across your condenser. If you want to know if your compressor was starting to come apart, it didn't come apart all. It made some metal flakes. It's still making pressure and it's still working, but it's not working good. But it puts some metal debris inside the small tubes of the microchannel. Well, how will that show up? You can have either low airflow or debris backing up the refrigerant, causing a high side, and you'll read here 400 psi. But when you look at your autel and you look at the pressure transducer, say you have 88 psi. Well, how can you have 400 psi here and 88 psi at the other side of the condenser? You have a restriction, and you can prove that because you had 2 points of measurement for pressure, one before and one after. One was by the pressure transducer, you used your autel. The other one was your gauges. Temperature sensor, same thing. If I had 400 psi right here and I put my pressure transducer in there, let's say the temperature would be 210 degrees. I'm just pulling a number out of my ass. Okay, we have 210 degrees coming out, but then you see the liquid line coming out. I put another temperature sensor and I clamp it onto that line, and it's 55 degrees. Well, you know something is acting like an expansion valve, a restriction, and that's the metal particles or plastic or Teflon particles coming out of whatever compressor is on there, packing up, building up pressure, but blocking these little tubes so they can't pass. Now, you could put a pressure transducer and you could touch right here and you'll see it's 200 degrees. You put the pressure transducer and you touch right here and you see it's 70 degrees. Well, there's no way you could go from 200 degrees to 70 degrees in such a short pass without there not being something blocked. Some people will say, wait a minute, how can you have a bad compressor with that much metal flakes blocking that, causing 400? How is it developing pressure if it's a bad compressor? Because so little debris is needed to plug up these few tubes. You're not plugging up all these tubes. This is a multi-pass system. You only have to plug up 15 of these tubes. And if you've seen the size of the tubes, it doesn't take much to make enough restriction to cause 400 psi here and 88 psi coming out of the bottom, or a temperature drop. Real simple. Every instructor in every automotive school should be doing this. Free resources. Hey, body shops, any of you guys out there, help out your local high school auto shop or a college trade school and offer them, if an instructor comes asking, save some parts for the instructors, and the instructors go pick them up. Here's another thing. How much oil goes in hoses? It's all different for different vehicles. It depends on mode of operation, time of year, ambient temperature, engine temperature. Here's a good example. They're saving this for me after the supplement goes through so I could have it for demo units and make up wall mounted units. This was inside this box right here. I pulled it out and I noticed I got a little leakage of oil. See this right here? I did that when I pulled it out. You see all that right there? So when I pulled that out, some oil came out. Well, don't you think some oil came out when they pulled it off the compressor and took it out of there? Now look at this. Watch me wiggle it around. Let me see if I can get in there for you. Look inside. You see all that oil right there? Because when it was in the box, it was like this. See the high side up there? Everything pours downhill. Came out of that muffler, went into that pipe. Now check this out. How much oil comes out? Oh, sorry guys, I lost you. Let's get out of here. You see that? I got about, if I had a shot glass, I could, and look at it's fizzing. You see, can you see the bubbles in it? I'm sorry if you can't see the bubbles in it. And I can't get, oh, there you go. You see all those bubbles? Okay, now let's explain those bubbles. Where are all those bubbles coming from? That is refrigerants trapped in the oil, just like CO2 is trapped in the Coca-Cola. You got a Coca-Cola, you take off the cap, you hear that pop, you hear the fizzing come up, right? You take a few drinks, put a cap back on it, take it out of the refrigerator later on, and all of a sudden it bubbles up again. If you shake it, it bubbles up again. The refrigerant was trapped in that oil. Now, I recovered last week. I recovered the refrigerant. They didn't get the parts and everything done until a week later. They had the system open to the atmosphere. This has been sitting in that box for several days with oil trapped, with refrigerant trapped inside the oil. When I used the recovery machine to vacuum out this oil, I had it down to 800 microns. 800 microns of vacuum. Wouldn't you think all the refrigerant came out of the oil? No, it's called surface tension. The surface tension of the oil and the carbonized refrigerant trapped in the oil doesn't break through, just like vacuum won't remove all the moisture out of the oil that's deep inside, especially if some idiot used shop air, pumped it up, and he says, oh, I put it under a vacuum pump and it says it's under a vacuum, so it's good. No, it's below the surface tension deep down in the oil, and it doesn't come out and it stays there. See you guys later. Have a good day.